Zanoni. I'm a physical therapist assistant here at Loudoun Sports Therapy Center, and today I want to talk to you about some common stretches that you are probably doing incorrectly. The first one I want to go over is a hamstring stretch. So your hamstrings start at your sit bones and they come down the back of your leg and cross your knee joint. So it's very important when you're stretching your hamstrings to make sure that you keep your knees straight. So one way to stretch your hamstrings is to sit on the edge of the table. You can sit on the edge of the bed. You want to keep your knees straight and then reach toward your toes. The goal is not necessarily to reach your toes, but you want to make sure that your knee stays straight so that you're getting the full stretch. So a lot of times you'll see people reaching for their toes, but they're not quite flexible enough, so they're bending their knee and they're missing the other half of that stretch. So you want to ease off a little bit, make sure your knee is straight, and then reach toward your toes that way. If you're not as flexible as I am and you feel a stretch here, that is okay. Another thing that you want to be mindful of when you are stretching your hamstrings is your back positioning. You don't want to round your back. That can cause a lot of strain on your low back, so you want to keep your back flat and then just hinge at your waist as you're going deeper into the stretch. Anytime you're stretching, you want to make sure that you hold it for at least 20 to 30 seconds so you're getting that full tissue extensibility. Otherwise, your muscles are kind of like a rubber band and it's just going to snap back to where it was. Another way to do a hamstring stretch is to do it in a standing position. You can put your foot up on a stair or a little stool. And again, I'm going to make sure that my knee is straight, my back is nice and flat. I'm just hinging at the waist until I feel that stretch in the back of the thigh. That's another good one to hold for 20 seconds, and you can do that 3 times. Another common stretch that we usually see that's done incorrectly is a hip flexor stretch, so opening up through the front of the hip. The first one I'm going to do is up on the table here, and again at home you can just do it on your bed. You're going to slide to the edge and bring your leg down. A lot of people will do it with their opposite leg straight out, but that can put a lot of pressure on your low back. So you want to bend up that opposite knee and then flatten out your back and take that pressure off your low back. If you don't get a good enough stretch here, you can tie a band around your ankle and pull back this way, and that will really help open up the front of your hip. Another way to do a hip flexor stretch is to come down onto the floor in a half kneeling position. A lot of times you'll see people going into a deep lunge and then arching their back, but this puts way too much pressure on your back, and instead of focusing on the hip flexor, it gets more on the hip flexor tendon, and that can actually cause damage. So what you want to do is come in a little bit, keep more of a 90-degree angle, and then do more of an active stretch. So you can see here that my back is nice and flat, and I'm just going to take my tailbone and tuck it under, and then I get more of an active stretch through my hip flexor. So let's go through some upper body stretches that are commonly done incorrectly. The first one is an upper trapezius stretch, and that is to stretch neck muscle here. So what you want to do is just gently tip your head to the side. A lot of times we'll see people leaning over, or they're hiking their shoulder up, trying to make up for the difference. Again, the goal is not necessarily to get your ear to your shoulder, you're just reaching that way. And if you want a little bit deeper stretch, bring your hand up and give a little bit of pressure, and then you can take your opposite hand and pull it back behind your back this way. So you can see I'm keeping my shoulders more square, keeping my shoulders down, I'm not hiking up into my ear. Another stretch that is super easy to do at home that we see a lot of people do incorrectly is a pectoral stretch in the doorway. So what we'll have you do is come into what's called a modified pec stretch, bringing your arms down at a 45-degree angle, almost like an inverted V, and then just gently lunging forward into it. So just stepping one foot forward, just enough to feel a stretch in through your chest here. A lot of times we'll have people overly lunging, and then they're feeling strain in through their shoulders, and they're not really isolating out the pecs. So again, it's just arms down, and then just gently leaning into it. Again, you want to make sure that your shoulders are down and relaxed, that your shoulders aren't up into your ears here. And it doesn't matter which knee you want to put forward, whichever one you are more comfortable with is just fine. Your pectoral muscles have several different attachments, so there are 3 different positions. The first one I showed you was the modified pec stretch, like an inverted V. The second one I'm going to show you is going to get more of the sternal portion, which attaches more to your breastbone here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my arm up to a 90-degree angle like this. I'm going to put it on the other side of the doorway and then just gently lean into it. So with my lunge, I want to make sure that I'm really holding this position for at least 20 seconds. You don't want to be bouncing back and forth because you want to get that good tissue extensibility into the stretch. I'm going to hold this for 20 to 30 seconds and then I'm going to repeat it 3 times. And if I'm feeling tight on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and switch and make sure I'm getting both pecs in. Okay, our pecs also have an attachment at our collarbone. I'm going to bring my arm up like a V again, but now I'm in this position. Depending on how tall you are and how wide your body is, you can do both arms at the same time in the doorway. This doorway is a little bit wide for me, so I'm actually going to do one arm at a time. But again, I want to make sure that my shoulder blade is down and back, that I'm not hiking up into my ear here. And then I'm just going to take a gentle lunge forward into the stretch. And then I'll make sure I get the other side in. Just gently lunging into it. If at any point during any of your stretches you are feeling any strain or any pain, you always want to ease off. You just want to make sure that you're feeling a gentle stretch and that you're not overstretching into it. Thank you for joining us for this stretching tutorial. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to check us out on the web. Our website is www.loudonsportstherapy.com and be sure to like us on Facebook. Thanks for stopping by.